Right now, somewhere on Earth, a lion is eating lunch. It didn't earn a salary. It didn't open a bank account. It didn't buy groceries. Yet somehow, it's eating the exact same thing you are: calories, energy, survival. So why is one species forced to work for food, while every other animal on the planet just gets it for free? Stick with me, because the answer involves stolen rocks, a monkey caught trading sex for cash, and a dolphin that quietly turns strategy into profit. And by the end of this video, you'll realize the question itself was wrong. Let's get into it. Here's something strange to start with. If money is so useful, why did humans survive for over 250,000 years without it? For most of our history, there was no cash, no prices, no bill at the end of the meal. If a hunter came home empty-handed after 3 days out in the wild, and the tribe didn't share what little they had, his children didn't eat that night. So food wasn't bought. It was shared. Survival depended on it. But that raises an even bigger question. If humans figured out how to survive without money for 250,000 years, what on earth happened to change that? Before we answer that, here's something even weirder. Over millions of years, evolution produced millions of species. Yet not one of them evolved anything resembling money. Except not completely. Because in a few strange, very specific cases, scientists have caught animals doing something that looks a lot like buying and selling. Yale researchers once trained Capuchin monkeys to use small silver discs as currency, trading them for grapes and other treats. And these monkeys picked it up disturbingly fast. When a snack went on sale, they bought more of it. When prices doubled, they switched to the cheaper option. They even panicked over losses the same way human stock traders do. But here's the moment that made headlines. One male monkey traded his silver disc to a female for mating, and she immediately turned around and spent that same disc on a grape from a researcher. An actual peer-reviewed transaction. In a monkey enclosure. The researchers weren't trying to teach prostitution. They accidentally created the first recorded monkey economy. But that's not even the weirdest part. There was also Kelly, a dolphin at a marine research facility, trained to trade litter for fish. Kelly got clever. She started hiding paper under a rock, tearing off tiny scraps one at a time, because a small piece earned the exact same fish reward as a big one. Eventually, she saved up a fish, hid it under the rock, used it as bait to lure a seagull into the pool, caught the bird, and traded it in for an even bigger payout. That's not instinct anymore. That's strategy. So if animals can clearly understand trading, why didn't any of them ever invent actual money? Here's the real reason money exists. It only works if millions of strangers all agree that a completely worthless object, a coin, a bill, a disc, will still be valuable tomorrow. No other species on Earth has ever needed cooperation on that scale. Biologists explain animal feeding using something called optimal foraging theory. Basically, animals are wired to chase the biggest energy payoff for the least effort. Every decision is a live calculation. Is this meal worth the chase? And a dollar bill fails that calculation instantly. It has 0 calories. If an animal spent its energy chasing shiny tokens, hoping some other animal would honor their value later, evolution would erase that behavior almost overnight. So animals didn't skip money because they're less intelligent. They skipped it because trusting an abstract symbol, backed by nothing, agreed upon by strangers, is a gamble nature can't afford. Humans somehow took that gamble anyway. So how? Most people assume farming came first, and that once humans had extra food, they figured out ownership. Archaeologists now think it happened backwards. Farming didn't create ownership. Ownership created farming. Think about it this way. Imagine spending months clearing land, planting seeds, and raising animals, only for your tribe's ancient sharing rules to say everyone gets an equal piece, whether they helped or not. Why would you ever bother? Farming only made sense once someone could finally say, "This is mine." Once crops and livestock could be fenced, guarded, and claimed as private property, humans suddenly had a reason to do the brutal, months-long labor that farming demands. That single shift from everything belongs to everyone to this belongs to me quietly rewired the next 12,000 years of human history. So when did people actually start handing something over for a meal? Here's a twist most people don't expect. The first person who ever paid for food probably didn't use coins at all. They used debt. In ancient Mesopotamia, trades weren't settled with cash changing hands. They were written down, literally scratched into clay tablets, and settled later at harvest time using crops as payment. Egypt ran a similar system using copper weights just to compare the value of things, without any coins ever physically circulating. Real coins didn't show up until around the 7th century BCE, in ancient Lydia, where metal discs were stamped with a guaranteed value so people didn't have to weigh gold every time they wanted bread. And once coins existed, empires like Rome used them to pay soldiers and collect taxes, which forced ordinary farmers into markets because now you needed coins just to pay what you owed the state. Private property, then farming, then debt, then coins, then taxed markets. And at the very end of that 12,000-year chain is you standing in a checkout line. Here's the shocking part. When you spend $10 on bread, the actual farmer who grew the wheat gets just over $1 of that. So where did the other $9 go? Processing, retail shelves, trucks, restaurant staff, packaging, an entire invisible industrial machine that animals never had to build because they never divided labor in the first place. And it gets stranger. Nearly a third of all food produced in the US never even gets eaten. It's thrown away, spoiled, rejected for being the wrong shape, or left to rot after a buy one get one free deal convinced someone to buy more than they needed. Billions of dollars grown, harvested, shipped straight into a landfill. So the price on your receipt was never really about the food. It was the price of an entire civilization's supply chain, running quietly behind every single bite. But here's the question nobody actually asks. If animals never pay for food with money, does that mean they eat for free? No. A lion fails most of its hunts, can go days without eating, burning fat and muscle while it waits for the next chance. A wolf pack can chase prey for miles and come back with nothing. A hawk can circle for hours, spending enormous energy just to find one opening. Animals don't pay with money. They pay with time. They pay with energy. They pay with risk, sometimes the risk of starving, sometimes the risk of getting hurt or killed by whatever they're trying to eat. So maybe the question we asked at the very start was slightly wrong. It's not that animals eat for free and humans don't. It's that every species pays for food. Humans just invented a completely different currency. You might assume every human society eventually switched completely to money. Surprisingly, some never did. In Inuit communities across the Canadian Arctic, hunted food like seal or caribou isn't sold. It's distributed through a tradition called ninjiktuk, shared with elders, neighbors, and the sick, sometimes announced over local radio so families in need know exactly where to go. In Fiji, a similar custom called karakir lets people ask relatives for food or help, with no expectation of repayment at all. So even now, that ancient instinct, the one that kept our ancestors alive for 250,000 years, hasn't disappeared. We just built an enormous monetary system on top of it. So here's where all of this lands. The lion never worries about inflation, but it does risk starving on a failed hunt. A wolf never checks food prices, but it can burn a full day's energy chasing something it never catches. An eagle never works overtime to afford dinner, but it can spend hours in the sky searching before finding a single meal. Every species pays for food. Lions pay in failed hunts. Eagles pay in hours of searching. Spiders pay by sitting perfectly still, sometimes for days, waiting for something to wander into the web. Humans simply invented a different currency. Ours is money. Nature charges every species for food. Humans are simply the first to pay the bill with paper. If this changed how you think about your next meal, hit subscribe, because next time we're asking an even stranger question. What would actually happen if humans woke up tomorrow with no money at all? See you in the next one.